Hi, everyone. I am so excited today because I want to bring you concrete examples. We talk a lot about what is student voice and student leadership and shared leadership and what are all those structures. We've done tons of videos on those, so if you haven't seen them, check them out. But when you're ready to be like, okay, what does that actually look like in practice? What could it look like in my specific community? This is the video for you. So let's get to some examples. We'll do a couple from different levels. So we'll do an example from elementary, middle school, and high school. And we can also talk a little bit about district-wide and community settings as well. Let's get into it. Take a look at this case study in elementary school. Dr. Taryn Gavan, who was a principal at Westlawn Elementary in Texas, had students, staff, and parents each have their own lighthouse team, which is part of Covey's Leader in Me program. And they had daily activities and shared language in their classes. So they're all practicing the same types of leadership skills. They have meetings that build in leadership skill development and practice. That shared language is always present when adults are meeting, when students are meeting together in teams as classes. And then eventually they bring the student, staff, and parent teams together once they had really established their own communities in separate spaces and developed their own skills at their own paces. And then they brought them all together to kind of have a shared leadership experience or multi-stakeholder team where everyone got to kind of talk in the same space about the same issues and get various perspectives at once. So this is one way this could look at an elementary level. We're building leadership skills, but we're really using a foundational research-based practice. And there's a whole organization to support in this case. So Covey's Leader in Me program, you can read the books by Covey and apply this on your own, or you could potentially partner with them. And it also doesn't have to be this program, but just to give you a sense that there's programming for even young children to build up skills in a very specific research-based way. So next is middle school, and this highlights a different piece. This highlights a partnership with a local organization, in this case, a university and nonprofit that the school partnered with. This is based off a research paper. So the name itself of the school is fictional, but it is in the mid-Atlantic region of the United States. And this is where undergraduate students who were trained came in to teach the middle school students research techniques and advise on student voice initiatives and positive youth development. So the teachers themselves at the middle school didn't have to teach the students the leadership skills specifically and the research skills very specifically for this project, but they really just provided a space to have, and this was a school club space, and it wasn't after school, it was held during the school's activity period, which is really important to note because a lot of students can't stay after school for various reasons. So this is during the school day, a school club that students opt into, and the undergraduate students came in, facilitated the youth-designed leadership projects. The space acted as kind of a hub for students who were interested to come there, do the projects that they chose and co-created, and get the specific research skill training from the undergraduate students. So again, the teachers themselves didn't have to be trained in the research, but they kind of learned, I think, just by virtue of having that space. Next, we have a high school whose whole government system is set up to model the United States government system. This is Constitution High in Pennsylvania. There are 3 branches of government, again, to model after the U.S. government. Constitutional courses are offered in 9th grade, so we give everyone their first year in the school a foundational understanding of how the government operates and how they can engage with it. So they have that as opposed to 12th grade, which is what I see a lot of government courses being offered at, right? We give it in 9th grade. Everyone has this understanding of how the government works and how they can access power and influence legislation. And then students engage throughout the time that they're here. So you can see things like an executive branch, a legislative branch, a judicial branch. And you'll notice that the judicial branch, for example, is 9 members, 7 students, 2 teachers. So it's student heavy in terms of the ratio. We see the legislative branch, which is made up of a faculty senate and a house of students. So again, we see multiple stakeholder groups being represented here. And they have various activities as well that represent the United States government's activities. So state of the school address as opposed to state of the union address. We have town halls, court cases, and youth participatory action research. Finally, I want to give you a district example. This is Athol Royalston School District in Massachusetts. And Superintendent Darcy Fernandez called for all stakeholders to join committees for a 5-year strategic planning process. We strategic plan all the time, and every 5 years it feels kind of like we're spinning our wheels. Do we make any progress? So I think a great approach is shared leadership, right? Invite folks in from different stakeholder groups, and that's exactly what she did. She came up with 5 subcommittees based on the sections of the strategic plan. About 35 people signed up. And, more people were interested, but they just couldn't commit the time to meeting in the live meetings, but they still want their voices to be heard. And so they got surveys. So they still were able to share their voice in an asynchronous manner whenever they were able to fill it out. They filled it out, gathered information from all the stakeholders, all of the families, teachers, right? I think this is an opportunity. I think ultimately her goal was to extend to students as well. But it started really with the families. And it was like, what do we want our school community to be? And involves families in that way. These are just a few examples of what could be possible in your school. I would love to hear what you try, what you're thinking about trying, anything that you resonates with you, you like, you dislike about these examples, anything you would add to them or change. Feel free to use these as inspiration to go do your thing.